Myself and two amazing designers, Sianda Mpele and Glorina Mabaso, were asked to be a part of this amazing challenge that would transform the Old Fort coffee shop into this beautiful lounge area that will, be a space to allow people to come and gather, get to converse, get to meet, and get to share ideas.
The approach for this Constitutional Hill project was a little bit different from previous projects.
The first brief meeting was a walk through Constitutional Hill where we were inducted into the space itself, understanding what it represents, understanding the history of the space.
It wasn't just about designing and putting mood boards together, different stuff. It was about how do we create a conversation and if we can tell a South African story.
And we realized we have to now make a mark through using design as a tool to sort of tell this history, because it's no longer just our stories, it's the country's story. The first person that came to mind, I was like, I'm not doing this alone. Not doing this alone. So I approached Nelson, and it's somebody that I've always looked up to. He also has that love for heritage.
At first it was a bit daunting because you don't get to design such spaces on every day, in our career.
When I actually even started with my team, we were talking about how little we know about our history. And we thought we knew until we visited the site and we started doing research. And every time we stumble upon each research, we find something new. Also, what we found when we were researching about even freedom fighters is that they were just people. They were fathers, mothers. They woke up, made tea, they were educated. So that was another layer that we discovered. Also, with such distress, people were able to actually go about their life and still continue to even study. And then get out of prison and then start companies and build that.
The project itself allowed me to realize so much about the history of our country and where we are today, but also getting to honor, the present time and where we're going as a country. And I think at the center of everything else was the people themselves.
We try to create a space where it represents the future of South Africa, but it has to have traces of our past, because that's very important too. We decided to also create the space in such a way that it becomes a manifestation of the power of collaboration. So we've used quite a number of local designers, Houtlander, Urban Native, Tabisa from Mesh Tea, to sort of display that sense of diversity within the furniture, lighting, fabrics, and so on.
Within the design itself, there's a lot of screens, but what I did was, if these screens were to block off, then again, what are we doing? We are dividing. So I created these screens that have patterns that represent all of us, the males, the females, the young, the old. But within the midst of that, there's so much of air gaps and spaces in these screens to represent transparency. So it's creating this space where we see each other. I see you, which is part of centrality and respecting each other and seeing each other.
When the three designers presented to us, it was an incredible task to try and imagine choosing who would be the winner, if you would, of this project. Sifiso Shanga was ultimately the designer chosen as the designer to implement his design, but the three designers chose to collaborate and bring elements and aspects of all three of their designs to life.
What you'll find a lot within my design is a lot of the space, original and existing forms still exist, where walls have been kept the same but repainted. The floors itself have been refurbished but they've been kept the same. The ceilings have been refurbished but have been kept the same.
We had an incredible collection of art from House Union Block, which really is the finishing touch on this space.
I think also what it taught me is that we mustn't think our history we mustn't be embarrassed. about it. It mustn't be an awkward conversation. And that's what another thing that I picked up with. When we talk about South African history, it becomes a very awkward thing.
My dad was actually an activist. He was the first vice president of COSAS, which is the Council of, South African Students. I grew up hearing these stories from him. And it's the first time that I've now interacted with a space that, speaks the same language. It became very real.
I was more grateful for the sacrifices. So it was like, how do we then show gratitude? I think that was the lesson. It was just like, how do we then pay tribute and then the gratitude shown through the work?